When building your connectivity model for your AI network, there are a few things that you need to consider to make sure that you are, again, choosing the right design. For example, is it going to be a single site that I'm going to be designing for my AI workload, or is it going to be multi-site? Should I consider the traditional network, or should I be shooting for a software-defined network? This is what we're going to be dealing with here in this training. When it comes to having a single location for your network or maybe multiple locations, we need to architect these networks very precisely because there are many questions that we need to answer before we can decide this is going to be a single site or multi-site. Imagine having all your network resources in one location: data, apps, servers, and even the staff. Everybody is in the same building, right? In one place. That's what a single site network is all about. Everything is happening in one location. So this setup is perfect for companies that operate from a single office or a central hub. Maybe there might be occasions where you want to get just connected to a remote single user or something, or maybe a remote multi-user. That could be there, but mainly you have a single office where everything is operating within that location. Why go single site? That's the question. Centralized control. IT management couldn't be easier when everything is within arm's reach. One location, one team, one point of control. And then it's super blazing, it's super fast, the speed. Okay, the data travels at top speed since it's all in the same building. And again, this is wallet friendly. And single location means fewer setups. And those fewer setups mean less money. And again, when it comes to fixing anything that might just go south, troubleshooting is going to be easy and faster. I'm not saying that this is going to be the case all the time with a single site, but then again, these might be the drivers towards choosing a single site. Again, security is also top notch. Lock it down like a fortress within that very same building. So who might choose that single location or single site? There are many scenarios and different organizations like small and medium-sized organizations, or maybe campus network, data centers again, healthcare, and corporate headquarters. That is very possible. On the other hand, I might want to expand multi-site. Okay, there are many drivers for the multi-site network. You're not just having those devices within the same building. You're expanding your network. You have several buildings and your business is growing very well and very fast. So why not to connect those different networks? Why not to connect those different buildings? Whether this is within the same city, different countries, different continents. But again, there are many questions that you need to answer. How fast? The latency, the security, the troubleshooting, the central control. If you wanted to control your network from a central location, from a central software or hardware, these are different questions that you need to answer before moving to the multi-site design. Again, who's going to choose this? Of course, you're expanding. Okay, so large enterprises are going to go for it. Retail chains, global organizations with different locations all over the world, healthcare networks and educational institutions. Everybody can actually have this kind of network because you never know when your network is going to grow. And if it grows, then you need to connect those different sites using a multi-site setup. And you might have heard me say centrally manage your network, which is going to open the floodgates to why do we even need to centrally manage the network? And are there options offered by Cisco when it comes to centrally managing your network? And the answer is going to be yes, there are different options, but it's not just about centrally managing the network through a central controller, but it's also about whether or not you want to go for the software-defined approach, software-defined networking. Again, what is software-defined network? A software-defined network is a network which is based on abstracting the control and management plane from the data plane from a single device. So your routers, your switches, any kind of network device, they always have those different planes, the control, the management, and the data. You want those devices, the routers or switches or any kind of network device, to just focus on the data plane and let the control and the management plane be abstracted somewhere else. Where? Exactly. So the management plane is going to be abstracted to one location, which is a central controller. Now, this is going to vary from one solution to the other, because as I said, Cisco has different solutions. We have, for the enterprise network, we have the SD-Access solution, software-defined access, which is actually going to have a central controller that you see right over here, the Cisco Catalyst Center. that central controller is going to be able to manage your enterprise network from within one location, being able to just, configure and troubleshoot and automate your enterprise network from the Cisco Catalyst Center. Again, you're having multiple sites, you're having different locations, or maybe it's a single site. Okay, this is going to be a good friend for the enterprise campus. But then again, is it just the enterprise? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just trying to expand my network and connect different remote sites together using some kind of WAN technology, a WAN technology which is also software defined. And when I say software defined, then again, abstract those different planes and have a central controller. And that controller is right over here for a solution which is called Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN. Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN is going to offer you that option, but from that controller, which is called the Cisco Control or the Cisco Manager. Okay, the Cisco Manager that was called before the Cisco vManage. That's the former name. Now we call it the Cisco Manager. Again, what about it? Centrally manage your different remote sites, those routers across those different remote sites from that central control. Along with the manager, the Cisco SD-WAN manager, there are other controllers as well, but we're not discussing those in depth right here. The bottom line is if you want to connect your remote sites together from a specific SDN design using SD-WAN, using Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN is going to be a good choice. Well, wait a second, don't go anywhere because we still need to apply the SDN approach. Where? In the data center as well. So this is where we have the ACI, the Cisco ACI, the Cisco Application Centric Infrastructure. It's all about centrally managing a whole bunch of Nexus 9K wait a second, where are these guys? Right here, you can see them right here. So these are actually Nexus 9K switches in an architecture, in a spine and leaf architecture that you need to centrally manage through a central controller. And that guy's gonna be what? Well, you have this guy right here, the APIC. The APIC, which is the Application Policy Infrastructure Controller, a central controller that can manage the entire data center for you. And I'm being specific here, the entire Nexus family in a spine and leaf architecture where you want to push some policies. You want to push your configuration, which is going to look like a bunch of policy, or you want to make sure that you're not just configuring, you're configuring, you're monitoring, you're doing everything that has to do with management plane from this guy here, the APIC. And as you can see, this is a cluster. So it's not a single APIC, it's actually a cluster of 3, 5, or 7. You can see 3 right here. So that's your first site. Well, you might be lucky that you're working on a small architecture with a single data center. You might still be luckier if you have more than one data center, more than one site. And in that case, you want to tie between these different sites. And this is going to give you some kind of design or some kind of setup, which is called the ACI multi-site. The name speaks for itself, multi-site, more than one site. But when you connect those sites, every APIC cluster is going to be responsible for its own data center, its own Nexus, bunch of spines and leads. But wait, it's going to be challenging. If I want to just configure my site number 2, I'm going to have to log into the second APIC cluster. If I want to configure site number 1, then I'm going to have to deal with APIC cluster number 1. It's boring. It's not very friendly. Well, we are here to make it friendly, and this is where this guy is going to step in. What's this? This is the Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator. What does it do? Well, if you want to orchestrate more than one cluster at the very same time, more than one, I have cluster number 1, cluster number 2, cluster number 3, whatever you have, you can still orchestrate all those different APIC clusters from the Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator. Look at that, an SDN flavor for your data center, no matter how many sites you have, is gonna be your Cisco ACI, and more than one site, then ACI multi-site. Summary time. So what did we cover so far? We talked about the single site and we compared it to multi-site architecture. And if you wanted to use the software-defined approach, software-defined networking, you have 3 different flavors from Cisco. We have the Cisco Catalyst Center, which is going to offer you the enterprise SDN. And if you want to connect different WAN sites together, then we have the Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN. If you want automation and software-defined data center, then ACI is your best friend. I hope that this was informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.